hard is it though to get people on the program if you've been kind of, what's the word? I don't want to say de-radicalized, but you make a good point that you're coming in at the tail end of the civil rights movement. And for all the advances of the civil rights movement, right? We can't say that there's not advances in that movement for Black Americans. There's a certain stratum of Black Americans that are left behind. It really does help propel Americans that were already prepared to receive some of these benefits, like home ownership, for example. Um, if you're a young man that finally can get into a union, depending on the field you're in, a lot of these jobs are moving to the Sun Belt of the South and then later overseas. So I understand what you're discussing about coming up in the late 60s and the 70s, and there's not a lot of opportunities. And if you're getting a large crop of cats that are of this environment, not everybody has the same rock bottom, and bars aren't always a rock bottom for people to go, maybe I should try to get my life right. Maybe this is a sign from somebody's God that I need to do better.
Right.
How hard is it to get through to some of these cats?
But that's not really, oppression breeds resistance. And it's not hard when you find yourself in an environment where you're in an overcrowded prison
Mm-hmm.
and the food is garbage and the medical is, you go down to medical and try to get some medical attention and you dying off because you got cancer of the stomach, but they giving you Maalox and telling you that it's just a stomach disorder, and then like 2 months later, after they diagnosed you, 2 months later you die, and this is prevalent. They got what they call the blue room, where large percentage of the population is literally can't adjust and losing their mind, and they put them in the blue room, which is a padded cell, and they got a doctor named Dr. Hodges,
Mm-hmm.
who is basically like a Nazi in Maryland Penitentiary. So it's not hard to get people to understand and say, listen, it's got to be better. You might not want to be, you might not consider yourself a revolutionary. You might not feel like that you believe in armed struggle. You might not think that that's something that you should think about. But what you should be thinking about is when you lock in that goddamn cell and it's 100 degrees outside, it's 120 in that goddamn cell, and it's you and your cell buddy. And that the only reason why you in that cell that's hot like that is because they just housing us. That you don't have nothing to do when you come out. We got a right to be treated like human beings. And if you don't think that you have a right to be treated like human, then I'm gonna respect that. But I'm saying that you have a right, and this is how you get that right recognized. Yeah, so it's not hard. It wasn't hard for them to get in. The hardest place that you probably could organize people and get people to organize in the face of the most outlandish, repressive. Nina Simone said, Mississippi, God damn. Like when she even said it, she said, God damn. The mere thought of it, like bring like, God damn, ain't nothing. The hardest place should have been being the South. But it wasn't hard because at some point in time, it became apparent that, damn, no matter what I do, I can't do anything other than tell them, put chains on me, put me back in the cotton field and whip me and for nothing. That's the only other thing alternative I got, or resist. So I find a way to resist. Another case in point is when they out there where you at in Pelican Bay, where they had to strike.
Yeah.
And the guy said, this is what they said. They said, we're gonna die in Pelican Bay because we don't have no control over how they tagging us. So they tagging us and saying that we this, but they tagging us and saying this and we this because that's their way of controlling the prison population. It ain't got nothing to do with whether a person is a gang or gangs is controlling prison. Gangs ain't controlling prison. That's an oxymoron. Prisoners run prison. How you running? If I'm running a prison, I'm leaving. I'm not staying.
Can you please, like, look,
I'm running this prison. I'm in charge of the prison. I'm
Yeah.
leaving.
You're leaving. Yeah, that's the
I'm
first thing
opening
you
the
do.
door. I'm opening the door and I'm walking out. I control
The,
the prison and I'm not coming back.
the,
So,
the,
but
the,
the reality is, and I'll close on this point. The reality is that repression breeds resistance.
Mhm.
It's on the revolutionaries, it's on the organizers to understand how to educate people to understand that it's an alternative to this.
What if you don't feel you're being repressed? Which is the question I have. Kind of, I'm always asking that constantly, kind of rhetorically, but you know, that's an environment that you're discussing that is very oppressive, right?
Right.
And to your point, I don't want to say it's gotten more lenient because I would challenge that no one wants to go hang out for a couple years in prison, right?
Yeah.
That being said, there has been major changes, and not everywhere, right? This is not across
Right.
the board. Every state, I want to reiterate this, every state is different. I actually have friends in Alabama prison right now. The images that I've seen from prison in Alabama are disgusting. They look nothing like what prisons look like in California. Um, that being said, what happens? It's how do you build solidarity with people on the outside?
And that's a good question. Let's just think of, let's look at this right now. Right now, if I'm organizing workers, if I got a union mentality
Mhm.
and I'm in prison,
Mhm.
uh, the fastest then eliminated hundreds of thousands of jobs under our species that we're going to turn back over to state rights. That workers. So if you're a federal worker, you need to go to a state where you live at and get a job in that state
Mhm.
because the federal government is no longer giving you coverage.
Mhm.
It's not hard. It's not hard to get people to understand that you have a okay that this is arbitrary, capricious, and it's repressive. Your livelihood now is on the line. Your two income, your mortgage, your car, your insurance is on the line. And we had this in common. So we need to organize and mobilize ourselves around our commonality and develop a strategy, not to get back in the federal government, but to develop the infrastructure to
Mhm.
support our goddamn selves. And how do we do that? We take our talents and start organizing our talents and create our own and network with each other. So it's not hard when you I was looking at the yesterday, right? Because right here where I'm at, and they was outside the Department of Education saying like, no, and but I don't. What they shouldn't do, they shouldn't rely on no Democrat and no goddamn Republican, no
Mhm.
independent, nobody that's a part of the political structure. They should rely on the goddamn selves and mobilize and build around that. And that's where the organizers should be in them spaces. The union should be in them spaces now. And all that money from them dues they were taking and creating a infrastructure to support them in lieu of them be getting more stable a situation that they create themselves because they rely on this right here. You outman and outgun.